Hey, good afternoon. I'm doing a video here from a group coaching session that I did with Kevin Rabichow. It was really excellent. I got a lot of good feedback on a play and explain video that I did from Kevin and a bunch of other crushers. So I'm going to review a review of a play and explain here that I have. So we'll just get into it and talk about some notes and the comments that I got as they come up. All right, we are doing a little mix here of some zone on ignition, and then we have more of my normal games, which is PokerStars PA. Right now it's just full rings. I was trying to get some other tables in there. Usually I play the hundreds to 500s on PokerStars PA, and then ignition is kind of like zone basically. I'll probably be commenting out a lot of kind of what I say, or just leave my own narration. I'm kind of curious too, as my own narration along this, to just see if I can find any sort of visual or auditory clues or anything like that about how I'm playing, how I'm feeling at the time. Now the first hand that comes up here is King Queen off. I'm going to squeeze in this spot, and nobody else in the group thought this is a squeeze. This is definitely a low frequency squeeze for me, especially four-handed. Basically everyone else, if they're squeezing this spot, would prefer either a suited hand or a hand like Ace Jack off or Ace Queen off. I am not going to 4-bet here. Actually, I'm thinking about it. I'm going to try to sneak in a bluff from the small blind there. 10-4 off is a fold. My ace high is good to showdown here. So the next hand that's going to come up here is this ace king off hand in table one. Kind of the crux of this hand, as you'll see, is that we're deep and I just have top pair, top kicker. And I stick with the plan that I initially say. Fold ace queen. Squeeze here with ace king, consideration that a little bit deeper. I certainly a little interested by what could happen here. I'm sizing up slightly for myself. I'll open the jack 8 off, and I'm worried about, I don't even know what I timed out there and missed on. So ace king off, stack to pot ratio of like 3 or so is kind of just going to be continue here. Worried that so yeah, the SPR there being 4 is higher. What you're going to see is I basically have a very static mindset, and the turn becomes kind of dynamic where I should maybe reevaluate. Solver has no problem doing a geometric strategy here, a 2-street game basically of trying to get it in. I messed up the sizing for that, but that was my idea here, was to push a lot of equity with top pair, top kicker. And just try to get money in across 2 streets. So I messed up the sizing a little bit to do this. And retroactively maybe I could have played the turn differently because I kind of got locked into the mindset. Solver has no problem stacking off here geometrically over 2 streets with top pair, top kicker, especially these combinations of hands. So we'll see how this hand plays out. He has a hand like 10-10 obviously, but all the money is going to get in the pot. I think I just ship here. Unfortunately, it's a huge overbet. He can call a little bit worse. I think I got ace queen out of his range. Unfortunately, he does have some jacks and 10s here. He also has ace king as well, maybe king queen. And yeah, the fundamental idea there is I'm going to lose to the hands I'm losing to anyway. I don't think he's going to over bluff there, so I want to push against equity against the hands that I am ahead against and target the parts of his range that I am still ahead of that would be drawing against me. Seven. All right. So I want to get that other zone table in and going. I'm going to have to do a little bit better about talking and playing. Yeah, you are. This is such a low equity hand here. Unfortunately, I'm going to check and give up. So this next hand coming up, oh, never mind, it's not quite yet, will be an ace-10 hand. But the group coaching with Kevin was excellent. Anyone who is a member of Run It Once, I highly recommend that. This ace-10 hand is interesting. I'd like to continue against donks here. And maybe best occasionally. It doesn't have a lot of backdoor equity. I'm going to raise here as a bluff and fire all in on the river. Okay, so I think that's actually a really good plan here still. We'll see I get denied that chance, but I think if you are going to float the flop and you can't really, showdown if he's barreling into you twice, you can expect a third barrel. You have to start creating some plays to regain initiative and put pressure on. So I like the idea of the turn raise and then bomb on the river too. Ace 10 is a decent blocker here to the nuts, so I think it's a pretty good hand to do that with. So I like that a lot. Now, I got notes from Kevin Rabichow here on table 6, or table 4, that the 6s are not ideal here to just be completing or checking. I should be very much targeting the big blind, or the button. In his short stack, I should be raising, basically, to try to isolate and get this money in. I think at the play of the time, I think I was more focused on table 2. I wasn't really thinking about that much, especially noticing stack sizes. So that was definitely a mistake on table 4. Now you'll notice on table 3, I have ace 5 of diamonds here, and I am firing a pretty large polarizing bet. I think that I can get away with that, at least from certain different solver strategy sims that I've looked at, whether it's range or more polarizing. You'll see I make a mistake on the turn that I inappropriately use a down bet on the turn, and I'll talk about that more as this video plays. Can't do that now. And so yeah, I get denied the option with ace 10 of clubs, so I'm done with that hand. And that happens. Now here, yeah, this is an inappropriate use of the down bet. If I continue with this bluff, I should be betting larger and continuing to polarize. And down here, now, once he's basically that condensed into calling twice, with a hand like this, he basically has a full house or quads, or my ace-x is probably not good if he was floating a hand like ace-king. I think this player didn't 3-bet a lot, so he may have had better aces, but realistically, this player's now been condensed into full houses with lower pocket pairs. So if I do have a strategy that's bluffing and trying to win, I should be continuing to polarize the turn and river all in. I made a mistake on that, and I misapplied the down bet on the turn. That was not a good bet there. Ace high showdown is not great. I barreled the turn. Large bet flop is, I think, generally preferred on boards like this. I have to be cognizant now that, yeah, once he calls flop, he's generally weighted to full houses again. The turn bet is optimistic, and I'm not playing well in terms of being able to narrate and talk through some of this stuff. And so this ace 10 of diamonds is coming up here. And basically, so on Jack 3-3, it's kind of unconnected for him, better for me. I'm going to half pot this. Have blocker to Jack 10 to ace Jack, which he should be 3-betting anyway. A lot of players here basically have higher equity than
I think
him,
you can get away with
a larger bet here in a polarizing bet. A lot of players here prefer a smaller bet strategy. That's kind of player dependent. I'm not worried about the 3x's in his range, and I have good blockers to the 10x. It's not really super relevant considering he has many unsuited combinations, blind versus blind there, of the Jack X, but blocking some of like a Jack 10 is kind of nice. So that's just stylistically a little bit different. I decided to use a bigger bet there to apply some pressure, even though that is
kings
kind of
will be a
turning
3-bet.
ace high into a bluff.
I will open this hand.
I'm not going to open 5-4 off or defend 5-6. I'm just going to do a little skipping ahead here to get to some more hands. I think the next one coming up that was reviewed by others is we're going to look at King Jack off here coming up. So let me know when you see it. Here it is, King Jack off, probably table 4. Okay, so this one kind of got a little bit of an interesting mix. that some people squeeze, some people don't, and some people just flat. Now, Kevin in particular
And
says
this guy's too short stack to squeeze there.
Kevin in particular says that is very much a clear fold. That against the 4.5x sizing, especially the short stack, some of the other players there are interested in calling basically. I don't know about that. I don't think you can call king jacket off to see a four-way flop. So that's my thought. I'd rather turn that into a bluff there and a squeeze. If you do have any equity and you get it in against the button, if you're behind, at least he's kind of short, but at least you're certainly live here, which is why I like the idea of a squeeze. So those are the thoughts on that hand. And, you know, some people flat there. Basically, I would never ever be flatting there. I think that strategy still kind of holds.
It's better to 3-bet here than develop a calling range, especially to a min raise. Pretty low equity flop and board for us. My default strategy is pretty much range bet around 40%. So we'll start with that. I do have backdoor equity, obviously, to my draws, my straight draws. Or not backdoor,
Technically,
just upfront equity to my double
front
gutter.
door. Come on, you know that. Narrating and playing sometimes is really tough. It really kind of like throws off the flow of everything. So I'm gonna.
In doing so, I will bet here maybe he has a king high showdown or threes now, something like that he can pay off a bet for.
All right, so I'm just going to keep fast forwarding a little bit. That's not an open. These aren't opens. Add in a new table, more full ring. Let's get it. And the next point I am looking for here in the video is around 12 minutes in. We have king jack of diamonds.
All right, king queen here. I could play a couple different strategies, range, polarized. I'm just going to start with range for now, just because I smashed so much of the board. If he wants to give me more action, certainly comfortable with that. But the biggest thing is I think we want to get to a turn in the river with an advantageous spot like this. We'll put another bet in here, 3/4, and get a fold.
I would still play the same there. I mean, I consider checking that back and taking it to the river node. Maybe you could even find 2 bets there if he probes, and then you could raise. Realistically, though, I want to continue. If I'm range betting that flop, I'd like to be able to barrel that turn again and not be scared of basically that card. I think it's more advantageous to apply bets there.
I think I'm going to try to add one more zone in.
Okay, do it.
3-handed, I'm going to half pot here, c-bet.
Okay, so yeah, this king jack of diamonds hand. I'll say what Kevin Rabichow says first. Basically, his notes are that he likes his hand on the flop mainly because my approach is more macro focused and it was pretty accurate. Turn could be a check back, by the way, but basically I kind of switched from a macro to micro focus on this turn. But realistically, you know, you'll see as this, you can be betting this hand on the flop, and multi-way people generally bet less. That's definitely something I took away from this. My multi-way sizing was usually 40 to 50%. I've kind of reduced that a little bit, but I still very much think this is a really strong board to bet multi-way, and especially so like if this was a king jack of clubs, obviously where I'm drawing to the absolute nut flush, it would just have it would be a clear slam dunk. So some people don't bet here or bet much smaller. I'm going to continue to bet here, and I'll probably just size it down slightly.
Bet. I have the best aces, apply a lot of pressure to clean up some equity and everything like that too. Maybe get some on repairs folded. Obviously have draws to better hands here. I think now we just size 3/4, barrel again. A little worrisome if he has ace-x of diamonds, which is a possibility. I think we just take our equity here and call, hope to hit. And we have that. Gonna have to fold to a shove. With the 8s, we continue. Ace queen is going to be a raise. Eights is going to be a check, and unfortunately we have to fold here with the queen jack.
So I didn't go back and look at that hand on ignition and see what he had. I should, because
keep my range wide here just by calling.
Pair there, but I can't imagine that I'm actually ahead on any circumstance.
I don't want to really narrow down into a narrow range. And now I'm not entirely sure what he check calls with here, but I'll barrel for 3/4, value bet that. Eights is not a continue, four-handed. This person is really tight, doesn't seem to probe often. I'm not sure if I have the best hand here or want to bluff catch. I don't think this player is actually, I think they're very tight, and I'm kind of hesitant to continue here. You know, basically just bluff catching.
So I think the next hand coming up is King Jack diamonds again. I believe it's on the flooring table of 2-5. I kind of play the hand a bit whack, and we'll see that I kind of get thrown off by stats right off the bat. I think that hand is coming up here in just the next one. I'm in the big blind.
So we're going to squeeze here. I don't know if there's something to change the size or not change the size. I think I don't mind if I make it so that, like, I'm just saying kind of like caps it if he gets all in, some sort of consideration. We're going to check the king queen here. I think it's kind of a check even with some aces. Turn and river, not great. And I don't think king high showdown there is really interesting enough to continue. Here against a person who is very tight in the small blind, I'm just going to call.
So yeah, I basically just call here when that's such a standard 3-bet here. Realistically, I kind of misattributed his range, I think, to being more like suited aces and just really strong broadways, where I wanted to keep in some hands that I just dominated a lot more in that circumstance, instead of kind of, you know, potentially 3-betting and not seeing a flop if he 4-bets or something along those lines. I missed out on an opportunity here. I think, as played, you know, knowing this player now, you'll see he just has a weak ace X that I would have raised different. Now there's going to be some other considerations about how to bluff later on the end, and we'll get into those.
I don't think they have a lot of opens that are that, you know, going to be open folding. Float one with 2 backdoor draws. I'll fold my 3s there under the gun. I'm not sure if king high actually has showdown here or not. This guy seems to fold to the river bets a lot. I'm not sure if he has a hand like 10s here. I think maybe I just bet because it's easier, and maybe he folds some under pairs. I think I'm still going to get looked up here a bunch, but I have obvious floats, I guess, of like a jack 10 maybe that he's going to.
So yeah, I kind of trapped myself there. If I do want to bluff this, I should just bluff a lot bigger. And because I'm really repping kind of, I don't know if I'm going to polarize like that. He's basically in some sort of mode where it seems like he has some showdown. If you don't want to chance it at all, and if you think that your slight equity there would serve better as a bluff, it's probably better to just like 2x it in that spot, or, you know, apply a lot more pressure instead of allowing him to comfortably bluff catch in the line that he took of bet check and then check again for some sort of bluff catch. With a top pair weak kicker. So I made a sizing mistake there on the river.
Be curious about. So ace-8 off. I should have 3-bet that. Can't continue there.
I do not recall how this 8-5 of diamonds hand goes down, but we're going to get some notes on that. Alright, a check. That's good. No blunder.
I think this Jalen guy opens really tight, so he either has a hand like jacks or ace queen. I'm just trying to get the showdown here with fives. I don't think I'm really doing a lot of protecting against like the overcards. Would have been protecting against set 6. Obviously, he had ace 10. All right, so I can bet there to turn to protect against some overcards, which got there. But I generally think most of these people are, Jalen especially probably has some middle pocket pairs there.
So yeah, he thinks that the small blind is basically flatting too wide there. I should basically, start targeting him, and it's more about attacking him than it is.
Man, this is not my best session. I'm not playing super focused or kind of on top of it. I think I'll probably release it for that reason, but I generally think I do make a bunch of alternative decisions with how these hands play out.
So I think we have a pocket eights hand here coming up is the next note. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I just flat here. I don't think the people behind me are very squeeze active, so I'm taking a flop. My thought process is here, take a flop against, you're not likely to get squeezed behind and play your equity that way. Kevin very much disagrees with this. He thinks that eights is close to the bottom of our 3-bet range, and then we should absolutely be 3-betting there.
I just think all the overcards are brutal for me there against an early position range. 8-7 is definitely my board. I have a higher equity board for me. This guy's going to have a lot of defense. I'm going to slot this into a 2-barrel bluff right here. I'd prefer to much rather have like some sort of queen, but that's obviously live real equity and a blocker. But generally ace, king, jack is going to be so strongly my board that I need to fire there. And it's helpful to find some additional bluffs to all the combinations there that are just straight up value betting.
Okay. Okay, I think we have another eights hand coming up here. The general idea is whether to raise or not on this eights hand, and I can't remember what one it is, but I know it's multi-way, so
I'm not going to 4-bet bluff with ace jack and full ring right there, so I'm going to let that go. I'm going to defend eights. My jack 9 is certainly going to be a c-bet. I'll probably go half pot here.
So yeah, I've been messing around with different c-bet sizes. I'm really sort of inconsistent in that right now. I'm trying to figure out some things that work, going from essentially range bets to more polarized bets to over bets and everything like that. That's something I'm still figuring out. As of this video, I half pot the jack flop there in the, I think that works. I think I'm actually reverting back to range betting that spot for a smaller size. But sort of range, for the most part, range betting, polarizing works out pretty well. Now here, the notes on the 8-8 hand is that not raising is kind of good with a person left to act. A lot of the range here is going to be over pairs. And Kevin says he agrees that we could do some turn folding here when we block the weaker end draws and don't beat any value combos. Flop, he would always call. All right, so let's see how this plays out.
8-8, I am floating, considering raising, but at least floating that flop. Ace queen suited, I'm raising. Top pair ace is 6, I'm calling a donk bet, I'm folding ace 6. So this guy's barreling kind of hard here now. I've called the flop, I've called the turn. He's obviously representing over pairs, maybe he has diamonds as well. I think I have to still peel again. question is, do I turn my hand into some sort of bluff now? He should have a lot of pairs he can defend with here. Not a lot to value bet against, so I'm just going to check and show down. Sixes, okay. Ace queen is going to be defend.
I may 4-bet that in the future.
And 8-4 for the small
sometimes
sizing
I do.
is a defend
Sometimes
as
I don't.
well. Jack
That's
10
kind of player
is an
dependent
open.
on
My
table
ace
one
queen
with ace
is
queen.
a check to give up.
All right, so I'm definitely blundering a hand here coming up. That is 10-7. And let's play. Let's see if we can spot the blunder.
I'll defend 10-7 here. I don't think my hand is that strong here to play a probe there.
Yeah, the blunder was I didn't check raise there. That should be a great spot to check raise. The guy kind of capped himself by not c-betting the flop. So what does he really have? Like a 1 combination of 7-7s there underneath? Probably not. I should be much more aggressive here in turning what is like a nebulous sort of bluff catching opportunity into just a more aggressive line, building out a check raise bluff line. So I think that would have been much better play here. I didn't really consider it, and I should have.
I mean, he still has a huge upper range advantage against me. I'll defend my 5s, and ace 3 is going to be a check now with this other big blind in the player in the hand. Kind of strange. I'm not sure what he'd be value betting here. Pocket 7s, 8-6. 9s I am going to bet to clean up some equity. 5s is a fold. Am I going to bluff catch with 7s there? No.
So yeah, I made a mistake there with the 7s. That would have been interesting to, if I'm going to take this bluff catching passive line.
And I guess this is getting close to the amount of time. I will probably wrap up the video here in just a few hands. Can't float 9-7. King Jack I can raise. I will raise. Ace 8. All right, hands I'm worried about, like a king with a king of spades, ace king. I still have the best hand here, a good amount. I should anyway.
All right, so let's hear. I'm going to read out because the video is wrapping up here. These last 2 hands, the Queen 9 of diamonds and King Jack of diamonds. A lot of people here would check range on the flop and check call, or even check raise the exact hand with the King Jack of diamonds. We'll see what I do. Now, the comments on the Queen 9 of diamonds hand is Kevin says, I think raising here is fine, but I wouldn't go so large. We don't force many truly weak hands to continue by taking this sizing, and we also make it way harder for us to raise something other than our very high equity hands. I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's keep that in mind as we watch this hand play out. And so, yeah, I bet small on that flop with the King Jack of diamonds. The check raise would have made a lot of sense, too. I think it makes even more sense when there's a straight on board like that.
I think I have to raise my Queen 9 here. I think it cleans up a lot of Doubtfire's equity. He should have a tough time kind of continuing there. It shouldn't be that exciting for him.
I think that's about it, guys.
I will call that a video with that. I'm not too happy with my play, but I guess it's kind of better to give it a shot for that reason alone. All right, thanks for watching.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for watching. I thought that was interesting. I appreciate all the feedback from Kevin and the others in the group. It did really help my game out, especially with the multi-way sort of decisions, and I hope it can help you guys out, maybe considering some alternative lines and maybe seeing, what other sort of thoughts are about different betting strategies and frequencies. All right, cheers.